Hello, everybody. My name is Todd Wall. Welcome to School of Authority, where we believe that authority is trust in motion, and trust is what makes people move. Today, this is our second part and our second segment in talking about why do we over-explain our point? What is it that within us that triggers us needing to, as my wife says, mansplain, as it causes us to explain over and over and over? Guess what? They probably heard it the first time. Probably the problem is within you. That's why we need to do this together. Let's stick around, and here we go. What do you want to do first? What do you want to do second? I haven't been this excited since today's social media world with influencers. Oh, I already know how to do this, don't I? And the coach just nods. I love this topic because my wife gets on to me all the time just driving in the car. So it's a natural tendency within us. And if you saw our first segment with Dave Stone, it comes down to the initial part of it is there's a fear within me, a fear that I'm not being heard, a fear of what do they think of me, a fear of is this not landing? Therefore, I just keep trying to land it. But in reality, it's like that plane that's trying to land going boom, 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 boom. If you'll just hit the brakes, the plane will actually stop and land. But that's the reality. But there's a fear within us that causes us to want to just keep this thing going because what do they actually think about us? That is a scary thought. And so let me bring my friend Dave Stone back in again, and let's go deeper in with this. Dave, I love the first element of that we talked about with this, that it's really actually something in us. So this idea of mansplaining or over-explaining, where do you see this play out in these corporate environments you go into with team care?
I think oftentimes it comes in a moment. It's not just a theory, but it's a moment. And so here's what usually happens. People come in and they're all up in their own stuff, and they get upset about whatever it is. They've brought it from home, or they brought it on the drive here. They had an accident on the way or whatever, and then they bring it in there. And again, a lot of it is just that anxiety, and we're all up in our own stuff about, gosh, I don't know what to think about myself.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm going to over explain, or even when it goes negative, like attack, or just, even just hold off and just isolate yourself.
So let's go into the hallway scenario where you're the manager trying to be a leader. You run across that key team member, whether you need to get a point across to him, maybe that he wasn't performing well, whatever the point is you're trying to make. But it's that you're crossing in the hallway and you need to say something to them, and you get them pinned, but their face is blank. So you say it, and it's like you said, they probably carried something into work that day,
Yeah.
or even you carried something into work that day. And so,
Right.
because you can tell when a message lands, but they've got that blank look on their face. So
Yeah.
do you recognize that? Have you heard managers talk about that, where they've got a point to make, but were the lights on? I mean, were the ears turned on? Could they actually hear what was actually going on? Have you seen that situation before?
Yeah, I remember, and I don't know if it's anecdotal or if it's real, but John Wooden asked Bill, oh shoot, he just passed, what is it? Do you not understand, or you don't, what is it, ignorance or apathy? And he goes, Coach, I don't know, and I don't care. It's one of those things where you say, I don't know. Here's what happens a lot of times when we're doing rounds, or we're coaching people or whatever. What's really going on? And they'll say, "Oh no, I'm fine," or "How you doing?" I'm fine. Oh, okay. Well, that yeah, it sure doesn't look like that. So what's really going on? What is really the situation?
I
And
love
so
that.
get down to the brass tacks, especially when there's this, blank look. They're obviously thinking, right? You ever notice that when you're talking to somebody and their eyes are in the back of their head? What are they doing? They're in another place, man. They're thinking
Yeah.
about something else. And so for us to be able to be successful and move forward and get our point across, sometimes we've got to just
Check in.
totally redo everything. Yeah, do a check in and
So
say, okay, what's going on here? And then how can we together walk through this and how it'll land?
I love the value of this. It's really reading the room, reading that person that's in front of you. If you see the blank face, you can't be a bull. It doesn't. Being a bulldozer or a machine gun is not going to get the point across. You're not going to be able to cram that thing in those ears. So I love
Yep.
the element, the sensitivity to the situation of, hey, before I go further on this, how do you want to walk me through how I would want to check in? So it's before we go further, what would the next question be?
I mean, for me, as I do rounds and stuff as a corporate care coach and chaplain, a lot of times it is, um, let them know that I know that what's really going on, and that I'm not a corporate shill. I'm not trying to, keep up on them or whatever that kind of thing is, but I'm just honestly saying, listen, I'm here because this company appreciates you very much, and they chose you to be an amazing part of this company. And so when you're not on your best, when you're not best, whatever has happens, they know that you bring your stuff to work with you, right?
Yeah.
And so if that stuff is getting in the way of this, how can we walk through this? So
So
some of it is just being transparent and authentic with them to say, hey, I know that it's probably not just okay.
you know,
And so
I
let's just talk about it. Is it
it's
okay to talk about not being okay?
I
And
love
it
that. So
is,
so you've been able to find a connection as a third party and just
right?
really having that authentic human to human connection, and that kind of jars, it sounds like that jars them a little bit. It lowers their guard and opens their
Yep.
ears. Talk to me about the leader or manager. So many, I think it's a a false belief that I have to create a strong barrier between me and my team. How
Right.
can what can give them permission as a belief that it's okay for them to connect human to human with their team?
Yeah, I remember when we were in grad school together, there was a professor that said a leader cannot be friends with team members. It just isn't going to work. And I pushed back against that, and I caught some arrows about that. But because I don't believe that that's the case, I believe that when a leader is transparent and authentic and vulnerable, you don't have to tell them all of the sausages, how the sausage is made, but you can at least say, "Hey, you know what? For example, I know what it's like to have been dismissed, from a church, and so I'm able to minister to them in a way and care for them in a way that it just lets them know, hey, by the way, I'm not better than you. I've been through this too, and I understand what we're going through. And so I think it's better for our leaders to actually show some care and some vulnerability sometimes.
So
Not
really,
not
what?
so much that you're going to let them run all over you, but I
Yeah,
think sometimes just being human is a blessing for the whole group.
I think so too. So what you're saying is there's a distinction between being human and letting them in on all the private stuff.
Absolutely.
Being human
Our,
isn't going
our
to show the
yeah,
secrets.
that's right. That's right. What is it they say? Your faith is not it's not pride. It's is it private or personal? Those two, two type things, and you may be
Hmm.
able to correct me on that. But basically, um, we don't need to know all of the conversations that have gone on at home.
Hmm.
Let's say there's a marriage that's having, struggle or
Yeah.
whatever, or we've had, we lost a child, or whatever it might be. We don't need to know all of those gory details in the 9 to 5, but we do realize that we need to let them know that it's okay to continue to grieve. It's okay to continue to, let's give them permission. For example, I had a team member just the other day. I recommended, hey, I would trust these people with my own life and my own marriage. I think you need to go and talk to them. And this guy came back to me, a couple months later, and he goes, hey, by the way, that was the best money I think we've ever spent in our life, and it changed us. And so if we can um, let if we can let our guard down, that lets other people let their guard down, and then I think it's a whole lot better for the whole team. We don't need to get in other people's business,
Yeah.
but we need to care enough to know they probably have business. Does that make sense?
An authentic, just a quick check in that's just an authentic
Yeah.
expression of caring.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Just like, and don't accept the lies, or don't accept the whatever they're saying. I mean, that's something in coaching, right? I'm not going to accept what my client says to me because it's probably just a bunch of garbage, right? And so, I mean, when I walk through these companies and these teams, and I'm like, "How you doing?" and they're like, "Man, it is awesome." I go, "You're full of it." So I'm like, "What's really going on?" And so
So
I think that's part of it.
I love that, Dave. Thank you so much for the day. This is so valuable. We talked about there's an initial fear that we have to deal with as a person, but then a check in to get past that
Mhm.
initial layer, so they lower their guard, so you don't have to feel like you need a machine gun that message in. So
Yeah.
so Dave, thank you so much for the time. All right, everybody. So I love the switch from just the idea that I need a machine gun this information, but if I just give a quick authentic check-in, I don't have to share the company secrets. I don't have to get all deep into the gory details and go knee deep in their grief or their difficult situation. What if people just need to know that you care? As a leader, what if they're not looking for the general on top of the hill who's yelling at everybody? Guess what? They're not. They're looking for people to follow. And people follow people they trust. So when they trust you, it's because you've shown that you care about them. So when you have that message and you run them in the hallway, and you have that message and you start to give it off and you see it's a blank slate, how about a quick check-in? Hey, how's the day been? How's family life? And then go back to the message and see what they remembered, or ask them a question that follows up on it. But you need to check in and get past that guard. Get past life is great. Or just get some way to get past the shield so the ears will actually turn on. I love this. Try that out for me and see how that works. And follow, subscribe. We will see you next time. Here we go. You want to do first? What do you want to do second? I haven't been this excited since today's social media world with influencers. Oh, I already know how to do this, don't I? And the coach just nods.